Hi, I'm Dawn Masler. Welcome to lesson number 16 in Love School, our series about love. As most of you know, I'm a researcher in the science of love, but I'm also a love coach. I've worked with hundreds of women and a few men over the last several years to help them find love. From my experience, I've learned the number one mistake that most women make when it comes to dating and finding love. Now I'm going to tell you it, and it may not sound very scientific, but it does happen to have a very important scientific principle behind it. Are you ready? The number one mistake women make when it comes to dating is being too picky, or not being picky enough. Now this may sound confusing. On one hand, I'm saying you're being too selective. Then on the other hand, I'm saying you're not being selective enough. What happens is that many women will go out looking for that feeling, that buzz, the chemistry, which is important, but you can actually get that feeling with many people. Just because you get a little tingle, it doesn't mean he's the one. Just means you're attracted and you need to investigate further. The problem is most women will take the signal and jump headlong into a relationship with the wrong person. Later on, she'll admit he wasn't quite the good choice she thought he might be. Maybe he was a merchant marine and she wanted someone who came home at night. Or maybe she wanted kids and he didn't. Whatever the issue, the relationship would end with a frustrating impasse, which could have been avoided if she had been a little bit more selective. The other issue is being too picky. She'll create a list that's almost impossible to obtain. But instead of creating it out of a healthy self-esteem, her list is often a manifestation of fears. She's afraid to get involved again, so she creates a list that is insurmountable. I've seen crazy requirements on these lists. For example, I had a woman in her 50s say that he must want kids, even though her ability to have them was pretty much over. Or she may have an earning requirement that limits her to the top 1%. Now, wanting someone that makes a healthy living is okay, but if the only people you're willing to date are on the Forbes 100 list, your requirements may be a tad too restrictive. So how can you avoid making this mistake? Simple. Create a list, but a very specific list. You start by brainstorming all the things you want in a relationship, no matter how crazy they may sound. If you want a man that plays the French horn, write it down. If you want an artist, a poet, or a biker, write them all down. Next, take a list and pick out the top 5 must-haves. Now, they're going to be different than mine. Maybe you say he must like dogs, or be bilingual, or have a quirky sense of humor. Whatever the 5 most important things are on your list, pull them out. Next, you're going to write down your 5 deal breakers. Those are the things that you cannot live with. For example, my deal breaker was drugs. I was dating a guy I really liked, but one day he showed up and I detected the smell of pot. I ended the relationship. Although my body was saying yes, based on my list, my mind said no. That's why making the list before you start dating is so important. When you're attracted to someone, your body produces norepinephrine. It's part of your stress response. That's the problem. When you feel stress, your brain naturally pulls the activity from the thinking part of your brain and moves it to the more primitive survival part. So you walk into a date with this idea of what you want in your life, but you find someone you're attracted to and the idea flies out the window. Next thing you know, you're saying, I know he's not exactly what I was looking for, but he's so cute. You start making excuses and compromise, and when you divorce a couple years later, sheepishly admit you knew he wasn't the right guy from the start. By creating the list well in advance, you allow the thinking part of your brain to cut down that physical attraction if it needs to. Now, you have the opposite problem if your list is too long. You may find yourself not being attracted to anyone because your brain won't allow it. It's constantly veto the attraction by saying, yeah, but. You see a perfect man online, he's cute, successful, and he just emailed you. You look at his profile, and although everything you want, you notice that he went to Rutgers University. Your cousin dated a guy 20 years ago that went to Rutgers, and he turned out to be a jerk, so you don't want to take a chance now. You can find any crazy excuse to avoid dating someone, something as trivial as a gapped tooth or a misspelled word in the email, and you say no way. Your brain shuts down the attraction, leaving you complaining that there are no good men out there anymore. So if you're serious about finding love, start with your list. The 5 must-haves and the 5 deal breakers. Then go have fun. Having fun can be almost as important as the list. Why? Because he has a list of his own, and someone who is fun to be with is probably on the top. I hope you enjoyed this episode of Love School. If you did, please share it, and don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss a thing in Love School.